Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the College Socks Summer Book Club series. Yes, you heard me right. We still have 2 books to cover in the book club, and if it's one thing that I'm not, it's a quitter. So even though I have been delayed, I will not be denied. And yes, I'm recording this probably 3 days after the end of summer officially. But hey, sometimes we have to think outside of the box, to read outside of our own schedule just to get the thing done. So welcome back to the College Socks Summer Book Club series. I'm your host, Data Samantha Davidson, a student affairs professional who has been in college most of my life. And if you're new here, this is a series where we take books that can change the way you think about school, work, and life and break them down so you don't have to read them cover to cover unless you want to. And I really hope that after hearing my take on it that you really want to. So today's book is Lead from Outside by Stacey Abrams. And trust me, if you've ever felt like you don't belong, this book is for you. College Socks Summer Book Club series, book 7, Lead from Outside, How to Build Your Future and Make Real Change. Stay tuned. Now, let me remind you of my 3 hopes for the book club. So I want to put you on books because I believe some of the solutions we seek can be found in the pages of books. Secondly, I hope you will read the books I have suggested now or in the future. And finally, if you decide that you can't wrap your head around reading this book or any of the books featured here, you can still leave each episode with useful information, gems, and tips. Let's dive into this book. So let's set the scene. Stacey Abrams is a Black woman who grew up in the Deep South, built a career in politics, ran for governor of Georgia, and almost flipped the state. She's also a lawyer, entrepreneur, and plot twist, a romance novelist. Basically, she's proof that being an outsider doesn't disqualify you from leadership. It might prepare you for it. So why did I pick Lead from the Outside? I don't know. I bought the book when I saw Stacey's efforts for the Georgia gubernatorial, I hope I said that correctly, race. And she was unsuccessful, but I was so interested in how smart she was and how she didn't make the fact that she did not look like a politician. She is, she's not a skinny, I don't even want to go there. Like, we know, I don't want to put any images in your head, but you can look up who Stacey Abrams is. And just the idea oftentimes that we are very fascinated with how people look, our depictions of beauty and what we deem to be beautiful. She wears her natural hair. She has a space in her teeth, just all of that. But she turns up authentically herself. Like, she is just that girl, and she is so smart. So I was in the airport, I saw the book, and I did not leave without it. I had to find out who this brilliant woman was. And the book just seemed like something that I was very much interested in. I am interested in leadership at all levels. At the college where I work, I help students in leadership. I've always been in student leadership, and I try to lead every day from my desk, even though I'm not a boss. So technically, I know all about leading from outside. Okay, I'm a girl boss in my life, but not the boss, although that is the ultimate dream. Yes, I've said it out loud. I want to run somewhere, and I think I'm getting closer every day. So I was just very fascinated by her, and I dived into the book. Now, one of the things she spoke about in the book that really drew my attention was that when she was in college, I think it was Spelman at the time, her boyfriend broke up with her, and she went to the library, hopped on a computer, and developed an Excel sheet, a life plan for herself. Now, it doesn't matter what your catalyst is For her, it was the ending of a relationship. For many people, it's a life-changing moment. So it could be an ending of a relationship that you were deeply devoted to. It could be the passing of a family member. It could be something drastic, a health scare, whatever it is. She started to make a plan for herself. And I know that many people can relate to that. Oftentimes, change comes from something that just comes out of nowhere and you're not prepared for it. And you were deciding that, hello, I'm going to step my game up. So she came up with a whole plan of what she was going to do. Along the way, throughout the book, she has admitted that she has made these changes. That, okay, maybe she didn't want to be this, she wanted to be that instead. And that's fine. But I just found so much information. I found the book as a guide, and I definitely wanted it on my list. One of my friends was saying, oh, please, like he is not a fan of hers. And, oh, please don't read her book. Don't cover her book. Find another book. And I was like, oh, no. I am supporting my girl. Yes, she doesn't know me, but I am a fan. And I just think that there are some lessons that we can get from this. So basically, I picked the book because college is about being an outsider. Okay, you're fighting to find out where you fit in. You're trying to find your people. You're trying to find your major. You're trying to find what you want to do with your career. You are trying to figure it out, who you are and what you want. And so Abrams hands you a playbook on how to turn not belonging into your superpower. And that's really the heartbeat of the book. Outsiders make some of the best leaders. So I've broken it down into 4 lessons, 4 things I've left the book with that I want to share with you. So lesson 1, embrace your outsider status. Stacey says, for those of us on the outside, the quest for power is always rigged. Sometimes it's because we don't know how to gain entry or because the winners get to play by a different set of rules. Abrams says the things that make you different aren't weaknesses. They're actually your leverage. You see the gaps and blind spots that insiders tend to miss. So think about it like what we say to students when they write their essays. Make somebody else read it. Give it a fresh look over, a fresh pair of eyes. And that's what an outsider brings. When you are outside of the process, you are able to pick up why things don't work because maybe you are a receiver of the service. You know what I mean? Oftentimes when I encourage students who have never been interested in running for a guild position, it comes sometimes from them complaining about the guild, like, oh, they don't do this or they should do that. And I'm like, why wouldn't you run for the position? And they're like, oh, nobody would vote for me. But I'm saying you have such good insights, like you've never been on the guild before. So maybe that's why you have this perspective, because maybe they're limited by, having to play the political game, right? And, trying to really get people to continuously vote for them. It happens. You start out as first year and you make it all the way to guild president, first year rep to guild president. So, sometimes some students get very political. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but sometimes a student who has never been involved in politics, they just come and they bring a fresh perspective. So don't ever feel like you're outside of the process and you have nothing to add to it, because a lot of times outsiders just come and make such a huge difference. Now, one of the things that Donald Trump, yes, I'm going to say it, has going for him was the fact that he really was not a politician. And so people were enthralled by that, explaining how somebody comes to be a leader is very technical, very tricky. But what I'm saying is that he definitely was an outsider and that had an appeal to people. So I'm not saying necessarily look to him for your reference, but just making the point that an outsider can rise to the ascendancy. It is quite possible. So the thing that you think that makes you different, it's you're too old to be in college. You are a new student, a first year. A lot of times first year students do not run for positions outside of being the first year coordinator, even when they are vacant. It's really rare that I see students saying, hey, why not me? Yes, I'm new to the place, but that does not mean that I don't see how I could improve it already. So you might feel like you're playing catch up, like you're behind, but really you have a fresh perspective. It could be the fact that you're a restart student, that you're a mom, that you're a grandmother, that you were a teen mom, that you were a teen father, that you dropped out of high school and had to take subjects on the side. All of those things. It could be that you were the shy person all the way from primary to high school. It could be all of those things. Every experience you've had in your life makes you a person worthy of a perspective to be listened to, right? And one of the things she stresses is being authentically yourself. I know oftentimes, especially in the US, Black women find that, they try to fit in a lot. They really do. They try to, not that we don't like to dress the nines and everything, but like I said, she has not processed her hair, a personal choice. And it's something that people might say, is a difficult choice for Black women in the U.S. in leadership to make. I won't get into the politics of that. But one thing she said in her book that was so profound to me was that she turns up as herself. And this is her quote. "From the moment I enter a room, I am clear about how I intend to be treated and how I intend to engage. I do not tell self-deprecating jokes about my race or gender, though I will do so about my personal idiosyncrasies. I can be charmingly humble or playfully self-effacing without pandering to stereotypes in order to make others comfortable. My attire, my hairstyle, even my presentation style reflect me rather than aping the behaviors of others." She is not trying to fit in, nor is she making a huge effort to stand out. She is just humbly being herself, the self that she worked very hard on. And I feel like that's a key lesson to take away. Lesson 2. Ambition isn't a secret, it's a strategy. Stacey says, "Never tell yourself no. Let someone else do it." Abrams says, "Name your goal out loud." Okay? But that's step 1. After that, you have to make a plan. Ambition without strategy is just daydreaming. So if your ambition is to ace biology this semester, the strategy is to find a study group, block out review time, hit office hours, dream big, and make a clear plan. Follow the techniques that have been tried, tested, and proven. And even if you're interested in things like shaping your career in the future, so you do want to be in leadership or you do want to have a presence in social media to develop your brand, college, as I've said, is the perfect place to do so. You have a captive audience. The rest of the school is there. They have to be. You can definitely use them as an experiment. You want to be a newscaster? You can start doing little clips of things going on at the college and doing voiceovers for the clips and putting them up on YouTube. Nothing says that you have to start tomorrow. You can start anything today. All you have to do is make a plan. And listen, never has there been so much technology available, so many resources available for making plans. You have digital planners, you have planners that you can write in. Today I was talking to my producer and she was like, "Did your planner come yet?" Because I like to write things down. So you can say, "Hey, this is the goal I have for myself for this academic year." You can put it in ChatGPT and you can say to it, "Help me to outline a plan." You literally have no excuses for why your ambition is not your strategy for success. Okay? Ambition is the idea you have about what you want to be, but you need to put it into effect. All right? Abrams says, at its most complex, ambition should be an animation of soul, not simply a job, but a disquiet that requires you to take action. And that's really what it is. Ambition without effort and energy is just a dream. And it's no time for dreaming right now. It's time for doing. Lesson 3, and the one I stress so very much every time I talk to students. Build your tribe. Abrams is big on networks, not the fake networking where people collect business cards or where you just add people to your social media, but finding the people who will push you forward and hold you accountable. And a lot of times we don't spend that much energy. We think about if there's an instant connection, which is important. I mean, as a Jamaican, I get the whole thing of my spirit take you or you don't pass a vibe check. I get it. I tend to be very intuitive with my friendships, but being intuitive doesn't mean I've been successful in all my friendships. As a matter of fact, one of my best friendships right now was recommended to me and I was like, I do not think so. Right? I remember somebody saying, no man, you two would really get on. I think you have similar mindsets and are in a similar space and place. And I'm like, there is no way. I do not believe it. And there you go. So where was my intuition then? So sometimes we can't solely rely on that. Gut feeling is good and is important, but sometimes the people that you are friends with cannot take you anywhere. College is about being strategic. You're paying a lot of money to be there. It needs to tick all the boxes, click all the buttons. You need to be leaving there with a network. You need to be leaving there with your degree. You need to be leaving there with experience. And let's say you're not in college, you're done with that. Work is the same thing. Find that colleague who is going to push you, who is going to encourage you, and who is definitely going to make work a little bit easier to digest. Because if you think college sucks, wait until you get to work. Work sucks too. Okay. But just know that finding your network determines your net worth. I am so happy to be able to say anybody I need for anything in particular, if I don't know them, I know somebody who knows them, or if I need to be connected to something, I just have not met the person yet. I rely incredibly on my ability to meet the people that I do need to meet. I believe the universe will send them to me and that the connection will last for as long as it is mutually feasible. A lot of times students are in college and they're like, it's not about friendship. I don't want any friends. And then they leave and they don't have anyone they can call on for anything. You have got to be kidding me. That does not make any sense. Whether it be a study group, a club, a church group, somebody who you live down hall with, somebody who you are constantly at a bus stop with, you need to make friends. I cannot stress this enough. Think about it as one of the things you are paying for, okay? Can't be in college without friends. It's definitely not going to work. And you need them for the next part of life. So develop your network. And even when it comes on to leadership, this is something I've said. We have several different groups of students on campus. And, there are some groups that are the in groups. Everybody knows them. They get called upon to make presentations, all of that, right? Because they make themselves available. Now, if these students decide to become entrepreneurs, you're going to buy from them because you know them. You know what I mean? People learn from people they like. People buy from people they like. Think electricity, water, or internet. But anyhow, there are not monopolies. You are going to pick the one you like the most, the one that's giving you the best service. And that's genuinely how it is. Oftentimes, students find it very hard to be able to tap into things or get people to support them because they do not spend time even having cordial, relationships, just cordial passing relationships, just being polite, just saying hello every time you enter a room or something like that. It doesn't have to start off with, deep, meaningful friendships where you're talking about all your personal lives and issues. It just has to be pleasantries at first, and then slowly but surely you find the people around you who will be helping you and who you will also be helping. Just know that leadership isn't solo, it's squad goals. Okay, you're going to need a team. And so it's very important when you think about leading from outside that you try to get inside. You need people around you. So please squash this whole I'm not here to make friends story. It's not going to work. It's not going to help you. The final lesson I took from the book is failure is not final. Stacey says, because I suddenly saw opportunity where I had never been brave enough to look before, and I found that failure wasn't fatal, that otherness held an extraordinary power for clarity and invention. So although Abrams lost her race for governor in 2018, instead of crawling into a corner, she turned that loss into a movement that changed how voting works in Georgia. And that's what we call sometimes failing forward, where the thing that you dream about isn't necessarily what happens. I'll give you a really good example. For a very long time, when I completed my undergrad, I swore up and down that I was going to do my master's in Canada. All right, so I applied for scholarships. I was even shortlisted. They needed recommendations, and one of my recommendations fell through. And I was kind of devastated. And now looking back, I've always been a low iron girly. I don't know how I was going to make it work in Canada, which is one of the coldest places ever. Granted, I did end up doing my master's in the US, in Massachusetts, no less, which is also one of the coldest places ever. But it just wasn't meant to be. And sometimes when something doesn't work out, either because your efforts weren't good enough or something fell through, you can pivot, and then what ends up being the thing is the thing that should have always been the thing. You know what I mean? So being devastated by loss has been proven over and over again to be kind of not necessary. It's just something we put ourselves through. And we really should think about it like athletes who run a race, lose, and then in no time they have to start thinking about the next race, or even basketball players, because they lose a game tonight and they might have a game tomorrow. They can't spend time dwelling on the losses. Yes, naturally, it's good to assess and to see what worked and what didn't work, but you can't dwell in it. So sometimes the winning is in the pivot. The winning is in the thing that did not work out because it was setting you up for something better. So I've always said that my fear of failing has limited me a lot in life. And moving forward, I've decided to not let it be a thing. So even with starting the podcast and how long I waited, it was because I was like, nobody was going to listen. I have friends, just send it to them. They'll listen. And then eventually people will pick up, just keep doing. Like, don't fail wrong, fail right. And you can only fail right by improving on what didn't work, what happened, and then moving on into something else. The pivot sometimes is the power. So basically, what does this mean for college students? Let me get back to that. So if you fail a test, or you miss an opportunity, or you feel like you're falling behind, it doesn't mean that the game is over. It just means you just got new data and you need to adjust to this data. Like, you need to study harder, you don't do well not sleeping before an exam, you don't do well, not eating before an exam, you don't do well in this study group, you need flashcards, you need posters, you need to listen to your notes, all of those things. So yeah, that's that's it. That's basically what I got from that one. But yeah, I used to be afraid of failure so much. And I know there's so many people now who still have that fear. And it's genuine. I mean, nobody wants to fail. You're not going to pick it. There's not going to be a buffet of things. And you're like, I'll have the failure, please. Yeah, I'll have some of that. Nobody wants that. But it is an active part of life. Like, it has to happen. You don't improve if you're not failing. It's just the truth. And a lot of times people find it very hard to manage failure. And that's when they truly fail. You have to learn how to manage that. Wow, this has been one of my shortest reviews. I basically blazed through it, even though it took me over 2 days to complete the recording. But I have to blaze through it because some are done. And this was supposed to be a summer book club series, but you see me now, I am a finisher. This is a part of my identity. So yes, we did not finish while it was still summer, but there's one more book to go, and I'm going to keep going because I said 8 books. And we are going to review 8 books. Okay, this is book 7. So anyway, I want to give you an assignment for this book. Yes, I'm back in teacher mode. So this week, I want you to write down one ambition you have for yourself for the rest of the year. We're at the end of September. So for the rest of the year or for the beginning of your semester, because it is the beginning of the academic year. So write down one ambition you have for yourself. It doesn't matter how small it is. When you write it down, that's the very first step, okay? After that, you need to make a plan. But let's just start. Let's just start with the writing it down, okay? I tell you, there's a lot of power in the pen. All right, so that's it for today's episode. Next time, we're going to dive into our final book. Why has nobody told me this before? And yeah, that's a heavier book. I've been listening to it. I have the audio version and I've been going through it slowly because some of the things really do have me saying, I mean, I know this, but I didn't really know this. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's a book that will be really helpful to you. So if this episode helped you, please like, share, subscribe, share it with a friend or even a stranger, even somebody you've just met, you know. If you're in a conversation and they're like, what are you listening to? You know, I'm listening to this podcast. Get me out there. And please tag us, leave me a rating, whatever star you want to give me. But please not give me one. I'm sure I deserve a little bit more than one. Come on, don't be mean. And of course, follow us on all socials at College Sucks JA. You know the drill. You know what to do. So seriously, it does help me a lot. It makes a difference. It puts me out there and it just grows my platform, which is my ultimate aim. So please remember, some of the solutions you're seeking can be found in the pages of books. So please try and keep reading. Until next week. Bye.